Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, November 2, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 6:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 6:05 p.m. Jamaica time. There is no tropical cyclone activity that's expected over the next 7 days, and this is the reason why the Atlantic doesn't have much of anything taking place. We have an area of low pressure to the south of the Azores Islands, a tropical wave that's interacting with a frontal system across the Bahamas. Intertropical convergent zone clouds right over here near Africa. Nothing really significant, nothing is going to be taking place according to this map. I want to know that if something should happen, the next name on the list after Melissa is Nestor. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can still see the frontal system as represented by this blue spiked and red line extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into the Bahamas. We can also see that frontal system that we mentioned that was to the south of the Azores Island with a frontal system attached to it, an area of low pressure with a frontal system attached to it. We can see that we slapped a tropical wave that was affecting the Dominican Republic now just to the west of Haiti. That's maybe getting ready to bring some rainfall to Jamaica, and we still have that trough as represented by the broken orange lines across the western Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, we can make out the clouds associated with the trough over here. We can make out the clouds associated with that frontal system extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the Bahamas. We can also make out the clouds associated with that tropical wave that's now to the west of Haiti. It has been bringing some rainfall to portion of Jamaica in the afternoon. And we can see that low pressure system that has that frontal system attached to it right here to the north of the Cabo Verde Island. We can also see the low to middle level clouds being steered from east-west, courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north as usual. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in this morning's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, November 2, 2025. It was stated that we would have gotten in some morning rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes in Jamaica, also affecting sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes during the afternoon. And even while we were recording, we saw that we definitely got that morning rainfall across eastern parishes for sure. You know, eastern parishes, we're referring to those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. And we had some rainfall into Portland that was spilling into sections of St. Mary. And we also mentioned that we would have gotten some of the rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. You know, central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. Western parishes, you know, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? We actually had a post during the afternoon. It was stated there, the visible close-up satellite images of Jamaica show clouds bringing overcast skies and there are scattered thunder showers to sections of some eastern, northern, and western parishes during the Sunday afternoon hours. Yes, it was definitely eastern, central, and western parishes, but the brunt of the thunderstorm activity was definitely more so across the northern parishes, especially with the upper level wind shear blowing those clouds up south towards the north. So definitely had some rainfall across sections of St. Thomas, Portland, sections of St. Andrew, especially northern St. Andrew, so to St. Anne, northern St. Catherine, northern Clarendon, sections of Trelawney, sections of northern St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, and even section of St. James. gotten on the isolated thundershower activity, if not scattered thundershower activity. And we can see it all even better on the visible satellite images right here. All of the clouds that brought the overcast skies, the section of St. Andrew, section of St. Thomas, Portland, section of northern St. Catherine, northern Clarendon, section of St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland for sure. And we can see even the thunderstorms. This map here shows the infrared. We know the infrared shows the upper level clouds, the cumulonimbus clouds at that, as represented by the blues into the greens, into the yellows, oranges, reds. And we even see the sparkling white dots that we know represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And we definitely have a lot of lightning across sections of Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, section of St. Anne, into northern Manchester, northern Clarendon, definitely gotten on the thunderstorm activity as well. And if we take a look at the Jamaican Doppler radar, unfortunately it's still down since Melissa, and I guess we're gonna have to move on. Regarding the live camera here from C Jamaica's YouTube channel, this is showing halfway through, and as you can see, at that time in halfway through, this was about 4:01 p.m. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place, definitely sunny conditions for the most part at all, even although we definitely had some comments confirming that we had some rainfall in the corporate area for sure. And here we go with the comments. But before we do that, please ensure that you all subscribe to See Jamaica on YouTube. This channel shows live streams of not only halfway through, Crossroads, downtown, the Kingston Harbor, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today to this channel so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website. This map does indeed paint quite the picture, for we had that rainfall today, especially across sections of some eastern and northern and western parishes for sure. And if we take a look at some of the comments that came in today, we have Andy Headley 2327 stating rain in Spanish Town. We also have Richard Williams 1664 stating rain St. Andrew, and Mitch Hutt Taylor 1182 stating raining in St. Andrew. We even had some comments that came in here on our Facebook page. Sherry Hansen, Sandals Royal, Cloudy Thunder, a few sprinkles. We had Ryan Unruly Spooner stating Spanish Town, sunny blue sky. We even had some comments on our Instagram page that came in. Super Duper Kimmy stating beautiful sunshine in Old Harbor. What about Paul stating Kingston got rain. We also had Zayla stating me traumatized by any little rain or breeze, literally panic attacks if the rain comes too heavy. And Marlon underscore one god underscore stating place hot weather Jamaica. That indeed confirms what took place today. Alright, so let us reload the very latest still image here from the Weather Nerds website. Let us see what's happening right now. We're also going to be reloading the latest Jamaican Doppler radar, the latest Cuban Doppler radar, the latest Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar imagery, and the latest Cayman radar imagery. We want to see exactly what's taking place right now. Alright, so the latest still image from the Weather Nerds website. What is it showing? Is it gonna load? It looks like it's crashing out. What's going on? Okay, here we go. So the latest still image is showing 23:55 UTC, which is actually 6:55 p.m. So this just came out 16 minutes ago, considering that it is 11 minutes past 7 right now. As you can see, just some leftover clouds from today's rainfall out at sea. We also see some isolated thundershowers to the south of Kingston and St. Catherine right here. Some of these clouds being sheared off towards the north, bring some overcast skies to those spots. But as you can see, nothing much to worry about. The Jamaican Doppler radar still glitched out. The Cuban Doppler radar still glitched out from October 29 when they were being affected by Melissa. So we have to be dependent on the Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar. And the Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar confirms some light to moderate rainfall in the blues and the greens in and around Jamaica, even across Portland and eastern St. Thomas right there. But nothing really significant at all. Regarding the Cayman radar, we can make out what's taking place here. Some rainfall right here to the north of the Cayman Islands, the blues into the greens. That's some light to moderate, even some slightly heavy rainfall. We also see some rainfall right here to the west southwest of the Cayman Islands, around Cayman there. And we also see the rainfall that was affecting portion of western and northern Jamaica this afternoon, pushing out towards the west and dissipating. Regarding what's taking place right now, the live camera right here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel showing a May Pen Clarendon, and as you can see here, not much is taking place. We have people looking like they're waiting for public transportation, standing around. Also have some taxi drivers right here looking for some passengers. Nothing in the bad weather taking place. Definitely calm conditions as you can see here, and I guess that should be the order of the evening into the night. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we're at 27 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for AT&Z on Monday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Monday. And we can see Jamaica right here embedded in the grays that we know represents average temperatures. I know the average temperature for the month of November is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And when that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 31.1 degrees Celsius. So that should be the average temperature for Jamaica on Monday, 31.1 degrees Celsius. And we're grateful that we don't see any maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS online Twitter page that we have to highlight. We usually have to highlight these because we know that when we're power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So we're grateful that we don't see any outages expected, but that's expected considering that we're still working on getting power restored to those areas that were affected by Melissa. It's nice to know that they gave an update. They've stated restoration time as of midnight around Sunday, November 2. 90% of Portmore is with power. 85% of St. Catherine is with power. 95% of St. Thomas has power, and 90% of Kingston and St. Andrew has power. They also stated that currently just under 58% of customers remain without power, down from 77% immediately after hurricane conditions subsided. This hurricane is one of the most powerful on record, so we ask for your continued patience as our teams, supported by overseas crews, work tirelessly to restore power safely and as quickly as possible. Nice to know that they have overseas crews assisting. For sure, very good. Alright, so if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, I have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, seek shade when outside. Try eating fresh. Try some cold foods such as salads and fruits. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugary drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we can see the dry air extending from Africa across the main development region into the Eastern Caribbean right here. We know that the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain. And as you can see, we have some moisture across the central to the Western Caribbean. The moisture, as you know, is basically where we have all of the clouds that is responsible for bringing us some amount of rainfall. We have some moisture there. We have some moisture across portions of the intertropical convergence zone right here near the Cabo Verde Islands as well. Let's see if we actually get some rainfall in and around these areas over the next couple of days. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast for the next 3 days. So we're heading into November 3, November 4, and November 5. And as you can see, the Saharan dust isn't really here at all. We know that the Saharan dust is represented by the oranges into the pinks, and we don't see much of anything in terms of Saharan dust pushing through the main development region into the Caribbean. So we have nothing to worry about. You know that the Saharan dust can definitely cause hazy skies, not to mention trigger respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're grateful that we don't see any Saharan dust coming our way at all for the next 3 days. Regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, the waves are going to be up there. We see the dark blues into the purples into the pinks, represents up to 2, maybe up to 2.5 meter wave heights to the southeast of Jamaica, to the south of Haiti. We also see the light shades of blues into the darker shades of blues across the Western Caribbean. That's 0.5 meter wave height to 1 meter wave height, while the Eastern Caribbean up to 1 to 1.5 meter wave height. And that's because of the winds that are expected. We see more of a 10 to 15 knot intensity in terms of the wind speeds, across the eastern to the central Caribbean, more for 20 to 25 knots right here to the south of Jamaica and Haiti. We're explaining why the winds are going to be so high. While the western Caribbean, there's some, weak wind, 5 to 10 knots right here, especially from the northeast. And if we take a look at Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, close up to the north of Portland, 1.2 meter wave height, to the south of St. Thomas, 1.7 meter wave height, to the south of Clarendon, 0.9 of a meter wave height, to the north of St. Anne, 0.9 of a meter wave height, to the north of Hanover, 0.5 of a meter wave height, to the south of Westmoreland, 0.6 of a meter wave height. And you see, the further out you go from the coast, the darker the shades of blue, so they're intensifying. The wave heights up to 1 or so meter wave heights for sure, and that is because of the winds that are expected. We see more of an easterly flow across the island tomorrow, averaging 15 knots to the south of St. Thomas, averaging 14 knots to the south of Clarendon, averaging 13 knots to the north of St. Anne. And you also see where the air is expected to pile up. Wherever we have the least amount of wind, that is where we could have some low-level clouds becoming a mid-level rain clouds, if not upper-level cumulonimbus clouds for the daytime heating rainfall. And the upper-level winds tomorrow seem to be coming in from the west to northwest, if not from the northwest. That could mean more rainfall, across some central and western parishes, especially bringing some of the clouds pushing down into some southern parishes. So let's see how tomorrow plays out. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both valid for 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's actually 10 a.m. Jamaica time, since we're back on the Eastern Standard Time clock as of early this morning. As you can see here, by 10 a.m. we should be getting on some amount of rainfall across the eastern end of the island, maybe section of St. Thomas and Portland. That is where the agreement is by both the Euro and the GFS malls. So look out for that morning rainfall. Then by afternoon, both the Euro and the GFS malls are showing that by 3 p.m. we should be getting rainfall, especially across sections of some central and western parishes. We're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. Those areas could get in on some amount of rainfall, unfortunately, especially for those persons who lost their roofs. It's a bad situation, but that's how the weather is, unfortunately. And if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the next 24 hours from the Weather Nerds website, both maps right here are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. And we see Jamaica shaded from the eastern end into the western end in the greens, yellows, oranges, and even some rise represents anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to an inch of rainfall. So there's definitely going to be some amount of rainfall for sure within the next 24 hours. And we know that in November we usually receive less rainfall than what we would have gotten in October. In Westmoreland right here we usually receive 105 millimeters of rainfall in November. It's about the same as 4.1 inches of rainfall. In Manchester we usually receive 90 millimeters of rainfall in November. That's about the same as 3.6 inches of rainfall. And if you would like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of November, you can visit nomadseason.com, and that website will show you that information. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us, according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours. That stands for the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represent inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright. So we're starting at Tuesday, considering that we just looked at Monday's forecast. 12Z on Tuesday, we know that's 7 a.m. Don't see much of anything across Jamaica at that time. Then on Tuesday afternoon, we see some rainfall across the eastern end. What does the GFS show? Let us find Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning, nothing across Jamaica. Tuesday afternoon, some rainfall across the eastern end as well. Interesting that both the Euro and the GFS malls are showing rainfall for the eastern end on Tuesday afternoon. What does the Euro show for Wednesday morning? Some rainfall across some northern and eastern parishes. Then on Wednesday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Wednesday morning, rainfall across some northern and eastern parishes on the GFS. Wednesday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. What do we see on Thursday morning? Thursday morning, not really seeing much of anything across Jamaica on the Euro. Thursday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Thursday morning, rainfall across some northern and eastern parishes, so quite different from what the Euro was showing. The Euro wasn't showing anything for Thursday morning. Then on Thursday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across what looks like eastern, central, western parishes. What do we see on Friday morning? On the Euro, not seeing much of anything. Friday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some eastern, northern, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Friday morning, not really seeing much of anything. Friday afternoon, rainfall across some northern and western parishes. What does the Euro show for Saturday morning? Saturday morning, not seeing much of anything. Saturday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes. And we're going to be stopping right here at the end of 168 hours. So this is valid for Sunday, November 9, and we don't see much of anything. Maybe some rainfall starting to trail in from the east. We see some moisture from Puerto Rico and trailing into the waters to the south of Hispaniola, maybe affecting maybe far eastern Jamaica by Sunday, November 9. Let us see what the GFS shows for Saturday into Sunday. For Saturday morning, maybe some isolated shores across the eastern end and the waters to our south. For Saturday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some northern and western parishes. Then just like the Euro, we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So they're a bit different. The Euro was showing some rainfall and trailing into us. The GFS shows rainfall to the south of us, and we also see that moisture to the south of Hispaniola and trailing into portions of the waters in and around Puerto Rico. We'll see how it actually plays out, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. And if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that there should definitely be some amount of rainfall, and we're talking about anywhere from the dark reds into the purples into the pinks. That represents 2 to 5 inches of rainfall for a portion of the Windward Islands, so anywhere from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, southward Grenada, section of Guyana. We also see some of that rainfall into section of western Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, eastern Nicaragua, northern Honduras, into portion of the Yucatan, and section of western Cuba, as well as the Cayman Island. And if we look closely, it's not only the GFS here that shows this, but the Euro shows something similar. So there could definitely be somewhat of isolated flash flooding in some of these areas, while other areas that are shaded in the greens, yellows, oranges, and reds should get in on about an inch of rainfall or less. We're talking about the Bahamas, the Greater Antilles, and much of the Lesser Antilles, including the Leeward Islands. But if we close in on Jamaica's rainfall totals, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing the same thing like what we just saw. All the rainfall that's expected from now up until Sunday, November 9. You can see Jamaica shaded from the eastern end to the western end. In the blues into the greens into the yellows, that represents anywhere from 10 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to maybe 30 millimeters of rainfall. On the Euro, the GFS is a bit more robust, but kind of in agreement, especially with the most rainfall right here on the northeastern end or to the northeast of the island. See the oranges there, that represents up to 50 on the Euro, the GFS. Bring up the rainfall totals up to maybe the 80, maybe 92 millimeters. We'll see it actually plays out. While the rest of the island shaded in the greens up to 15 to 30 millimeters. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted if God spares life. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can definitely see some low to mid-level patches of clouds pushing through the Leeward Islands, some decent rainfall through Guadeloupe, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Bart's, Anguilla, Montserrat. We can also see the rainfall associated with the tropical wave that brought some possible flooding to sections of the Dominican Republic over the past 24 hours. So too, Haiti got into some of the action, and we can see most of the moisture is pushing into the frontal system near the Bahamas. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images near Puerto Rico, I'm sure we're going to be seeing the moisture that was affecting the Leeward Islands. We see the greens into the yellows, that's some light to moderate teams, some slightly heavy rainfall in and around Antigua and Barbuda, in and around the British Virgin Islands. And loading these images from earlier today, we saw where the rainfall is pushing in from the east, affecting Antigua and Barbuda, pushing towards St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Guadeloupe as well. Regarding the Barbados radar, zooming out a bit, we can make out that rainfall pushing in from the east that affected section of Martinique, so too St. Lucia. We also see that rainfall affecting the Grenadines right here to the south of St. Vincent. And we see that rainfall pushing in from the east towards Trinidad and Tobago as well. regarding the weather, we have the uploaded images. You can see that rainfall across the waters to the south of Florida, some of it affecting the southeastern edge, pushing towards the northeast. We also see some rainfall across Cuba. We see some rainfall affecting portion of northern portion of Guatemala, section of Belize, the waters to the east of Belize. Some rainfall to the east of Nicaragua as well, and section of Colombia too. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. And we can clearly see those areas that are shaded in the greens, yellows, oranges, and red. That represents an inch of rainfall or less for definitely portions of the Bahamas, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, sections of Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Antigua, and Barbuda, Montserrat, sections of what is this country called? Is this Martinique? So too, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, sections of Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname, southern Venezuela, western Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, and clearly the most rainfall over the next 24 hours should be across the Central American countries that are also shaded in the dark reds into the purples and the pinks. That represents up to 2 to maybe up to 3, maybe 3.5 inches of rainfall for sections of Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, while we see some rainfall also for sections of El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, and the Cayman Islands, if I didn't already mention that area. Regarding what's happening on the eastern Pacific side of things, we mentioned this code yellow yesterday, something that has a low chance of development within the next 7 days. Well, just a 10% chance within the next 7 days, as well as within the next 2 days. And we can see the infrared right here highlighting the thunderstorms associated with it. Was looking more impressive yesterday, so I'm guessing it's losing its strength. And we know that if something should form over there, the next name on the list is Sonia. Regarding what's happening on the western Pacific side of things, first of all, Indian Ocean, nothing. The western Pacific tropical storm Kalmegi, as you can see here, lots of red deep convection just to the east of the Philippines as it pushes towards west. The close-up of the system has that that look, the clouds fanning out, maybe to signal that the environment is conducive for development. A nice upper level high pressure across it as it pushes into the Philippines. A lot of rainfall is what they're going to be getting over the next 24 hours. As you can see here, it is now packing 60 knot winds. And we know that systems that pack 60 knot winds are classified as tropical storms, anywhere from 34 to 64 knots. Tropical storm, so it's a high-end tropical storm if it has 60 knot winds. And as you can see here, the winds are just going to be increasing the more west it pushes. 80 knots, 65 as soon as it crosses over. So it's going to be crossing over land, so it makes sense that it jumps from 80 all the way down to 65. So it's going to make it up to Typhoon or Category 1 status if it's going to be making it up to 80 knots, then back to 65. So still maintaining that hurricane status or typhoon status, and look at that, even increasing the more it pushes towards Vietnam. Talking about 75, 95, 100. You know that when we're getting up into the 95 into the 100, we're talking about category 2, category 3 status. So I guess Vietnam is going to be getting another one. I mean, if it's not Vietnam, it's southern China. They've been getting it all year long over here, and I guess they have another one to receive. So if you have friends or relatives who live or work in this part of the world, get in contact with them. You know how these things go. Just like what we're experiencing right now in Jamaica, they can be cut off. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.